Hey, all. Good to see you again. It's good to be with you again. For this session together, or this video together, we're going to talk about something that I think is a fairly familiar teaching of Jesus. Or at least I should say most of us are familiar with these words of his. And the teaching that we're going to be talking about are what he says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 41. There he tells the audience who is there at the Sermon on the Mount, he says to them, if someone forces you to go 1 mile, go also a second mile. Now again, I think it is fair to say that most of us have heard this teaching before and have understood it as Jesus telling us, Jesus teaching us to do the extra thing that needs to be done. Do the extra good thing that needs to get done, and no more, no less. And while this isn't necessarily bad, it's not what Jesus was getting at. It's actually not what Jesus was teaching. Let me explain. We have to remember that Jesus is teaching and speaking to a people in the midst of Roman occupation, of Roman oppression. And a very important fact is that Roman soldiers were only allowed to use subjected peoples for 1 mile of forced labor. Only 1 mile. And interestingly enough, if soldiers were caught by their commanding officer for using a subjected person for more than that, for using them for more than 1 mile, they could get into serious trouble. Serious trouble with their commanding officers. In fact, one of the punishments reserved for such an infringement, if you will, was whipping or flogging. And the reason why I bring that up is because Jesus was whipped. Jesus was flogged right before he was crucified. And again, I think that's something that we are all familiar with, or a good portion of us are familiar with, because it happened to Jesus of Nazareth. And so, in light of that, what's interesting is that what Jesus is doing here, what he's doing in Matthew chapter 5, verse 41, is that he's giving a subjected people, a peasant people, the Galilean peasants, a strategy and a teaching for recovering their human dignity in the face of great abuse and great dehumanization. What Jesus is doing is he's giving them a strategy for regaining some modicum of control in what would definitely have seemed to them an uncontrollable situation. The uncontrollable situation of Roman oppression and occupation. And the really cool thing is, it's a brilliant strategy, because here's the thing. If enacted, it would have thrown a Roman soldier off balance. It would have thrown him off balance, and in fact, it would have probably put or transformed a Roman soldier, an oppressor, into a beggar. Because think about it. A Roman soldier comes up to you and says, I need you to carry my bags for 1 mile. And you in response say, hey, you know what? I'll do you one better. I'll go an extra mile. I'll go a second mile. The Roman soldier doesn't want you to do that, because he could get into trouble for that. He could be whipped for that. And before you know it, here, this oppressor is begging the oppressed not to do that. See what's going on there? It's a transferring of power. It's a transferring, and in some ways, it could also not only benefit the oppressed, but even the oppressor. Maybe in that moment, the Roman soldier will take a step back and think about how he's treating this peasant, how he's treating this subjected person. And also, it's a great moment for this Galilean peasant, for this subjected person, to regain a certain level of human dignity that was lost, a certain level of self-respect that may have been lost due to all the abuse and dehumanization that he or she had been through. Pretty cool stuff, don't you think? I think so. And again, I hope what I just shared here elicited thoughts, was thought-provoking. And I hope it made you think differently about what maybe you may have taken for granted throughout the years when it comes to this teaching of going the extra mile. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, please share this, subscribe, do whatever with it. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to the next video and sharing more great information with you. God be with you. Have a blessed evening. Peace out.